Hello, my name is Alex Garofalo, and I'm going to be presenting my project on predicting long-term success for MLB pitchers in the post-steroid era. So to give you guys a little bit of an introduction, 2005 marked the end of MLB's steroid era, and this was known for PED use and inflated offensive statistics. Traditional stats like ERA wins, they were a lot less reliable in that era, and the analytics era emerged after 2003 with Moneyball and the Oakland Athletics. And we saw the emergence of new statistics like fielding independent pitching, pitching plus, fielding plus. So we're looking here to answer the research question, what combination of traditional and advanced metrics best predict long-term success for starting pitchers in the post-steroid era? So the goal of our research is to predict long-term success for MLB pitchers using traditional stats like ERA and strikeouts and advanced metrics like spin rate, pitching plus, to identify which stats evaluate pitchers best in the analytics era, this new analytics era. Um, this research could be used to help MLB teams and coaches do better scouting, recruitment, develop strategies, sports analysts to improve models and performance evaluations. And it helps give us a deeper understanding of the game's evolution and just the impact of pitching overall. So our methodology and data, we actually used a Python library called PyBaseball, and this library accesses baseball reference, StatCast, and Fangraphs. We're actually also using a MLB API directly from MLB's website to gather data. Some of the challenges, we have multiple data sets that we're working with, so managing large complex data sets and understanding the long-term effects of steroids on performance using all this data. So when we get this data, it looks something like this. As you can see, it includes granular metrics, some things we don't need. There's some missing columns that we have to take care of. It's hard to interpret at a glance, and there's a lack of structure. And it's useful for in-depth analysis, but we need to organize it. So below, you'll see a snapshot of our clean data, and that's an example of a data set that we would build to perform some of our analysis. And this is more organized and structured, immediately ready for interpretation, and focuses on key summaries and stats, and is ready to use on models and compare different visualizations. So the first model that we were looking to use is support vector machines. Support vector machines, it's a method of sorting data into different groups. So for pitchers, it separates successful. What we're doing is we're looking to separate successful pitchers from not successful pitchers using stats, traditional stats like strikeouts, ERA, and other stats that are more traditional that were used prior to the steroid era. That weren't as useful back then because the steroids influence how those numbers were perceived. So support vector machines found that the best boundary that ensures reliability by maximizing the margin between groups. Um, the significance and real-world impact of using a model like this, it helps teams identify which pitchers have traits for long-term success. And it simplifies complex stats by focusing on those that truly matter. And it guides player development, recruitment, and game strategy. Beyond baseball, support vector machines have the ability to handle messy, overlapping data, and it's a valuable tool in sports, business, and beyond. It demonstrates the power of using data to make clear, actionable decisions. So support vector machines help bridge traditional stats with advanced metrics, and it makes it easier for teams to find hidden gems and optimize pitcher performance. So in our results, real world implications here, the goal was to figure out which stats best predict if a pitcher will be successful long term. And as I said earlier, we focused on traditional stats, and we found that in our analysis, they did a great job at separating successful pitchers from the rest. The patterns were clear, and we didn't need to involve things like pitching plus, fielding independent pitching, or any other advanced metrics that are newer to the game today. In order to see that relationship. And why this matters is that teams could rely on these traditional stats now that we're in the post-steroid era to scout talent, develop players, and find players, hidden gems that perhaps they couldn't before. And advanced stats like spin rate are useful, but support vector machines show that traditional stats are useful as well. From there, we moved on to clustering, and here we explored three clustering methods to group pitchers based on performance. The first one was k-means clustering, and this divided our data into a set number of clusters by minimizing the distance between the points and the centroids. And the second method we used hierarchical clustering, and this started with each point as its own cluster that emerges them until a certain criteria is met. And then we use density-based clustering, and we group nearby points together and identify different outliers. Um, Here we just removed labels. We made sure to reduce our data using principal component analysis. We normalized the data, and we used advanced metrics in this, like fielding independent pitching, hits per nine, and new metrics that came post-steroid era to see how that would work. So for k-means clustering, this group pitchers into categories based on performance, as we said. These are just the breakdowns of the three clustering methods we used. And we found that k-means clustering actually worked best for grouping pitchers into different performance levels, clearly separating the top performers from others. So this could be useful for teams to quickly identify which pitchers are excelling and who needs more support. You could find new talent and look at overlooked players by looking at players in one cluster. And then for training, we can compare pitchers to high performers, performing groups to pinpoint what areas they exactly need to improve. If it's hit per nine, then maybe we should be focusing on limiting contact. So the key takeaway here is that K-means simplifies complex player data into clear, actionable insights, and it helps them make smarter decisions. So this is just visualizations of the hierarchical clustering, the density-based clustering, and the k-means clustering. The last method we'd use that we're going to talk about today is naive Bayes. So we use naive Bayes models to predict pitcher performance by analyzing different types of data. So we use Gaussian, multinomial, and Bernoulli. Um, we use naive Bayes because it quickly analyzes the possibilities of past data and it helps predict outcomes. So of our three models, the best performer was Gaussian. Um, it was 68% accurate and it excelled at predicting common categories between average and poor performers, right? But it struggled with rarer ones like excellent performers. So it had a hard time finding those outliers. Multinomial naive Bayes was right behind it at 53%. It worked okay with counts like strikeouts and walks, but it missed on deeper patterns. And Bernoulli naive Bayes had a 50% accuracy. It was right there as well. And it was limited by the binary approach. It simplified everything into yes or no data, and it failed to capture the nuances of pitcher performance. So the key insight here was Gaussian naive Bayes stood out as the best model, and it showed the detail and continuous stats are essential for understanding a pitcher's effectiveness. So the significance of this is that uh, Gaussian naive Bayes highlighted the importance of using detailed metrics like ERA and WHIP to evaluate pitchers' performance. And this reflects how modern baseball focuses on skill and precision over just the raw power pitcher. Um, so this could be used to help managers and analysts make better decisions on detailed stats that matter most for evaluating pitchers as well and identify specific areas for improvement and just help with overall strategy. The key takeaway here is that modern baseball requires a deeper analysis. Models like Gaussian naive Bayes shows that continuous nuanced stats are key to understanding pitcher performance in today's game. So this is just a bar chart of the accuracies of the three models. So the conclusion here is that support vector machines were best at separating pitchers into performance categories and identified clear patterns, making it easy to spot high performers and low performers. Clustering k-means stood out for grouping pitchers effectively, especially when dividing them into better and worse performers. And naive Bayes worked best at showing that detailed continuous stats like ERA, WHIP, and other new advanced metrics were actually reliable at predicting pitcher performance. So it is a combination of the both. So the real world takeaway here is that these methods showed us that showed us how to break down complex stats into useful insights. Teams could use these tools to spot top performers and hidden talent, build better training plans based on works, uh, make smarter decisions during games, and by predicting outcomes and identifying the patterns. So advanced tools like support vector machines, clustering, and naive Bayes, they help understand the game better and focusing on data that truly matters for the success of modern day baseball in the post-steroid era. Um, so going through again, we have support vector machines, clustering, naive Bayes, and the clear picture here is that in the post-steroid era, long-term success for pitchers is driven by a balance between traditional stats and advanced metrics. And the shift reflects the game evolution from raw power to precision, control, and strategy. Through analysis, support vector machines identified clear dividing lines between high and low performers. Clustering revealed how pitchers naturally group based on performance traits, and naive Bayes confirmed that detailed continuous stats provide the most reliable predictions. In today's post-steroid era baseball, where skills matter more than brute strength, these insights help teams make smarter decisions about recruitment, training, and in-game strategies using the data that aligns with the demands of modern pitching. Thank you guys for listening.